We're now on page 29 of your working file, the subject of alignment. Now, I know I say this over and over again, but this is one of those things you really have to learn, and because you're just going to use it all of the time. I mean, simple things like this, lining up, objects and spacing them perfectly apart and doing it quickly and easily. You really do need to know this. So we're going to quickly look at alignment, and the next one will be spacing, how to, achieve this nice even spacing between objects, etc. There are a number of keyboard shortcuts, and I want you to know that this is how I personally work using these keyboard shortcuts, but I'm going to show you both ways. Okay? Now, if I select a group of objects like this, I can easily quickly use one of these keyboard shortcuts, or on the property bar will become available the Align and Distribute button. Okay? Click this option here. And what you'll find is under the Alignment tab, don't go to Distribute yet, we're going to do that in our next lesson. Under the Alignment tab, we've got really 6 options, and we can have combinations. For example, I can click Top, and I can click Center, and then I can click Apply. But let's just go one at a time for the moment. If I click Top and click Apply, you'll notice that every object on its top side has aligned together. If I click Center, click Apply, they've now all aligned through the center, and of course bottom the same thing. If I unselect that and I select Center that way, click Apply, they are now all centered. The question is though, I'm just Control Z undoing all of that, what are they aligning to? And this is the important part that a lot of people don't realize. There are 2 ways of aligning. The object that is at the bottom of the stacking order, and in this case it's actually the red square. In other words, that's the first object that I created. If, for example, and let me just quickly do that again for you, I'll select all of those objects and I'll go T for top, or I could do this one here. So T on my keyboard, they've all aligned to the top of the red square. Control Z, undo that. Let's say that I don't want them to align to the object that's on the bottom. There is a way of doing this. Select all of your objects. Now, finger on Shift key and deselect the one you want them to align to. So deselect, as you can see the little node disappeared. Keep your finger on Shift and select it again. Let me word that for you correctly. The last object selected, okay, becomes the anchor point, if you like, or it becomes the point of origin to which everything will then be aligned. The last object selected. So what are the 2 options? The one that is either on the bottom of the stacking order or the last object you select. Again, finger on Shift, and if I just select them all one at a time, like this, and I'll select the green one last, that now becomes my anchor point or my point of origin. Now, if I click Top, they all align to the top. Control Z. Let's click Center. Click Apply. They've all aligned to the center of that object. Okay, now I'm going to close this down and just quickly work with all the keyboard shortcuts. So again, select all of the objects here and then finger on Shift, deselect and reselect that blue one, and then hit L on my keyboard. They've all aligned to the left-hand side. Can you see that? Okay, now C, I'll do it again, select everything, I'm going to align to my green one, so finger on Shift, deselect and select, C on my keyboard, they've all aligned center. Let me bring that to the top layer, so I'm going to go, or the top of the stacking order I should say, Shift, page up, brings it to the top, and again, select everything, finger on Shift, deselect and reselect, and then C. I just wanted you to be able to see it so that it was sitting on the top. Control Z, undo. Now, if for example I were to, let's say, if I right click on that object and I go to Order, and then I go behind that object, that now is on the bottom layer, isn't it? Or I could have gone a Shift page down as we've learnt previously. Select all of these objects. Now remember that's on the bottom layer. So this time we're going to select Top. So they'll all align across the top of that object. So T, see how they're aligning to the top? They all just come straight down and align to the top. Now that I've aligned to the top, I could do C. So they've aligned to the top and now they've also aligned to the center of that object. Can you see how that's working? It's kind of cool, isn't it? Let's just select everything again. Remember, this object is now on the bottom of the stacking order. So I'm going to select E for horizontal center. So in other words, it's going to align through the center of that object. So E on my keyboard, we've aligned through the center there. Again, if I hit C now, they'll align perfectly center. So I've done an E and I've done a C, so everything is perfectly centered to the object on the bottom of the stacking order. Okay, the bottom one is obviously obvious. I'll do this and I'll deselect the green, reselect and go with B for bottom, and they've aligned to the bottom there. Now finally, the last thing I want to show you is P for page. Now if you select all of your objects and then hit P, they will align perfectly center to your page. All right, and as you can see, that's my page there. Probably a little difficult with this setup, but that is center of my page. When you've got an A4 page up or something like that and you hit P, it'll all go to the center. I oftentimes will have a whole lot of objects, and for example, like those objects, I'll group them together. Once I've done my design, hit P just so that it's all perfectly sitting center on my page. I'd like for you to go ahead now, play with what you've just seen, try all the keyboard shortcuts. Do have a little bit of a play with this as well. And once you do, I haven't really gone into some of the other areas of this, but once you do, move on, and then we're going to look at distribute, and then we'll finish off our business card.